Everybody, welcome back for another summer edition of the HR Famous podcast. I'm your host and only person in this episode, Tim Sackett. How's everybody doing? As you can see, for those watching this on YouTube or any place where you get your video thing, skin cancer update, doing pretty well, kind of looking more like just a sunburn or that Tim has bad skincare routine. But little by little, it's coming back together. So excited about that. Had to come on and do the reaction to the SAP acquisition of SmartRecruiters for the industry. So for those who don't know, it's probably been a week or so, and I've probably read 25 different like reactions or heard podcasts, and everybody has their reactions to what this is. SAP SuccessFactors actually acquired a best of breed ATS called SmartRecruiters. One that I had highly ranked in my top 100 list. SmartRecruiters has rebuilt their entire platform, AI driven, agent driven. They call it Winston. I don't know if they'll keep that for SAP or they'll call it something else. What I like about this acquisition is SAP going out and getting a really, really good piece of talent acquisition software. It's a full end-to-end kind of recruiting platform, as a lot of the ATSs kind of have evolved into from the best of breed standpoint. And of the three big players in the HCM space, Workday, Oracle, SAP, I think everybody would agree that SAP SuccessFactors probably had the weakest talent acquisition technology of those three. Now, again, big HCM recruiting technology, it's always questionable if somebody would call it robust to begin with. The one thing I think people liked about SuccessFactors was they had a really great marketplace and they were easy to work with. So many people could go out and add in the pieces that they wanted around it. But it was kind of a Frankensteinish. You're putting together a lot of Legos, right, to make it work the way you wanted. I've said this before and I'll say it again, Workday, with the acquisition of HiredScore, and then also with what they built around candidate engagement, which is kind of their CRM light. If you put all of that together, also I think it rivals a lot of the best of breed kind of ATSs. Now, is it agent driven like SmartRecruiters? No. SmartRecruiters as a best of breed ATS again stood out because it's all they did from that standpoint. I will say, I've seen SmartRecruiters in briefings twice, and both times it wasn't live. It was briefing kind of demos, right? Where it was like, look, this is what it can do. And it's like part PowerPoint slides, part software. Never did I see really a live instance, and I've still have yet to hear from somebody that's using Winston from a full agent-driven recruiting side. Will it get there? Yeah. There's a lot of promise there. It's the same. Phenom has a bunch of agents as well. In fact, probably more agents than anybody. A lot of promise there. We still are waiting to see it in the wild and really get that reaction to the end user. So like the HR person or the recruiter or whoever, depending on what what the agent does, actually using it. And then how does that evolve that function, that position, what's going on there? So yeah, SmartRecruiters being acquired, I think it surprised a lot of people. There was a bunch of other ones that were rumored over the last year. Everyone kind of knew SAP was looking to acquire. And I think most of us thought up until, at HR Tech last year, and I think up until probably January, February, everyone thought Sense was the one that was probably going to be acquired. I think shout out to Acadian Ventures. They have their annual meeting in Park City. And I think from out of there is where the SmartRecruiters rumors started to happen in terms of SAP acquiring Smart. I always thought that really Paradox was probably a better acquisition for them in terms of how that might work. Now, again, I think Smart is also a great piece of technology. So I don't think they went wrong there at all. here's my fear. Everyone's saying like how great it is and how it's going to be so amazing. And that's kind of what happens when in acquisitions in our space, everything's very positive. And I hope so, right? I'm hopeful that that'll be the case. Here's where I saw this go wrong, even within the big HCM space recently. Look at Taleo and Oracle Recruiting Cloud, ORC, as people will call it. ORC came out and Oracle said very specifically, hey, if you're on Taleo, don't worry, you keep using Taleo, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why would you spend years and millions of dollars to build a way better talent acquisition platform in ORC and then let people continue to live and work in a piece of technology that's literally past its prime by a decade? And it made no sense to me. And eventually, right, they finally, I think after a couple of years, were like, okay, hey, we're not going to support Taleo anymore. We're going to do this. Now, again, they've said that, but if you're a really big customer, they'll say, okay, well, maybe we'll keep, supporting Taleo for you. But anyone new coming on, blah, 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 they don't kind of offer that up. You have to go ORC. If anyone watched Pinky Blinders, I think it's Netflix. Maybe is it Netflix, HBO? I don't know. It's one of the streaming services. Pinky Blinders. Thomas Shelby is the main character. And in one of the episodes, he's getting the crap beat out of him by a more powerful, like, gang kind of thing. And the one big gang leader makes him get down on his knees to kind of kiss the ring. And Thomas Shelby looks up at him and he says, big fucks little. And the guy's like, what? And he said it again. And then he goes, I had to find somebody bigger than you. And what he did was actually find another big mafia gang out of the United States to kind of come and support him. And that's the problem with a giant global company like SAP buying a rather small SmartRecruiters technology. And we think somehow like this cool, new, better tech's going to come in. It's going to change everything. And everybody in the smart team's like, yeah, we're better, because we have better tech than SuccessFactors and blah, blah, blah. And then they get into the big SAP SuccessFactors global company and big fucks little. Meaning, will they actually just rip out all of SuccessFactors TA and just implement Smart? That's what they should do. That would be the wise, fastest, best decision. It'd be painful for some, but at the end and moving forward, it would be the best thing possible. They'd have a world-class talent acquisition technology platform running for every one of their customers. Will they do that? They'll sell it as a separate SKU. They'll little by little let people roll over into new and blah, blah, blah. But 8 years from now, they'll still have old instances of SuccessFactors running the original TA setup somebody had. And this is what we do. Even though we know what's best for that client, because so often we're like, well, the client knows best. Like, no. Maybe 1% of the clients at SAP has actually knows what's best for them from a TA perspective. The other 99 just don't want change. But if you go, look, there's some short-term pain here, there's some change. But ideally, if you're on this, you're going to be exponentially better moving forward. You're going to be best in class, if not world class, as compared to everybody else that's out there globally, especially your competition. And so that's what should happen. It won't. I'm fearful for the people that built Smart or continuing to build Smart. And when they run into a juggernaut of a big company, that's just kind of what happens. It is. It's just the reality. Now, it was a smart buy. I know Sarah White is, kind of my only connection in SAP. So shout out to Sarah. I think she did a really good job. We had talked about this when she took the job. She was like, hey, like, who's out there? Who's interesting? And it's a really small list because you have to think about the amount of money that somebody has taken. Again, if they bought Smart, you're like, oh, well, would it be better if they bought Greenhouse or iSIMS or somebody like that? But they can't. But those are so unaffordable at this point because of the amount of money it would cost to buy them versus Smart, which was again, still relatively low revenue overall, and actually has a really nice global footprint, which actually fits SAP better because they have a bigger global footprint than a US footprint, unlike like a Workday or someone like that. And then the list of like who hasn't taken that much money becomes really like eightfold. Phenom seem like those would also be very attractive. Again, too expensive. Um, Paradox would really be to me would be the best fit overall. But again, it's not that they took a lot of money because they haven't. They've actually been really, really good and profitable. Um, but they're doing so well from a revenue perspective that they become very expensive. I also think Workday and Paradox makes a better partnership. Again, I don't see Workday making a 1.5 billion dollar acquisition of Paradox at this point. It would behoove them. It would help. But like I said, they've done some really good stuff with candidate engagement. They've done some really good stuff with um, hired score, and they're building out some other functionality that will help them compete in that kind of high volume space. Oracle, who the heck knows what's going on with them? I mean, seriously, has anybody talked with Oracle about their TA platform and briefing in ORC? Like when I talk to the end users, the TA leaders who are using Oracle, they literally are like, even we don't hear. Like, please, for God, tell me something because I hear nothing from them. And when you do get in a call with Oracle, again, this is what I'm getting from TA leaders. You end up on a call with 12 people, all of who don't seem to even know each other and have no idea the direction of the product and where it's going. So, and again, I'm not trying to bash Oracle because I actually think ORC when I saw it the last time I did a briefing was actually a fairly decent product for HCM recruiting module. I mean, it had a lot of the things that you would need, and at scale that won't break, right? So it kind of meets those things. I just think that Oracle just doesn't see talent recruiting, talent acquisition as just such a tiny part of their overall revenue skew that it's just not really that important for them. Also, being a little more global reach, it definitely has less not awareness, but a focus globally, right, from a talent attraction standpoint. Um, so I think it's a great buy. I'm hopeful that SAP customers now have a really great option from a best of breed recruiting all in one kind of platform piece that they can go and buy. So I would behoove them if SAP SuccessFactors doesn't force them to move, that they would take it upon themselves to make that move. You'll be way farther ahead. Um, and I hope they figure out how to do this in a really robust way that makes it right for all those SAP SuccessFactors customers that are desperately in need of a better TA kind of recruiting platform overall. Um, we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Another update, we saw another kind of Workday Mobley thing come out where the same judge made another kind of a decision that was going to basically force Workday to come out and show every one of the customers that was using hired score to do matching. And again, if you go back 3 years ago, and almost 4 years ago at this point, where this original plaintiff had said, "Hey, I applied to 100 jobs. Workday's AI didn't select me because I'm old." That's the premise of the lawsuit. And what it's come out to, like, obviously everybody knew it was actually Hired Score that was doing the matching. So it was the Workday customers using Hired Score. Now, again, 4 years ago, that's under 100 Workday customers. So this guy's claiming that he applied to 100 jobs with 100 different companies. I knew that was a lie to begin with. One, he would never know the 100 companies that were using Workday. But regardless, somebody bid on the lawsuit, and a judge was dumb enough to actually make this go forward. And now Workday is going to have to go and prove and show that this actually didn't happen. That's not the way algorithms work. Has no idea. Again, people want to say, well, yeah, the AI would see that this person, worked for all these companies for 40 years and they were older. And then the algorithm would say, oh, yeah, this person's older. Algorithms don't work like that. Algorithms would work like, oh, this person has more experience. Thus, we're going to rank them higher than somebody with less experience. So again, I'm still hopeful that this ends up where I think it will, which is getting thrown out or a decision in Workday's behalf. It's a pain in the butt, and it's really a black eye to the HR tech industry as a whole that we don't have lawyers and judges that actually understand AI well enough to understand that this is a complete farce. And so, do I think older people face ageism in applying to jobs? 1,000%. I know that happens. I've had to deal with hiring managers that have had that internal bias. So ageism is a problem. Are algorithms and AI the problem? No, actually, that would probably actually help us become less biased because it would look at the actual merits of an individual, not their age, not their sex, not their demographic, blah, blah, blah. Um, and so that's where this really frustrates me. And it also frustrates me because I see a lot of people commenting on this in our community that are almost like carrying the torches, like, yeah, down with Workday, like they're getting what they deserve, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, wait, what? Again, you lack the awareness of what AI can do and what AI does do and what AI can't do and how this was all set up to begin with, especially 3-4 years ago versus where we're at today. And my thing is if Workday is guilty of matching to this, if they're found guilty, every other ATS and every other big HCM recruiting module is also guilty because they were doing the exact same thing. They were doing basically just keyword contextual matching at best. Most of it's just keyword matching, which again would say, oh, if you have the experience, you're going to match higher. That was the AI that was taking place. Now, HiredScore had some stuff that was a little better, a little like farther ahead, but there was other ones out there that had this as well that was also doing matching. In reality, I think where we're going to end up, because the matching thing, I think, is an AI-driven, powerful component of what we should be doing in our TA tech stack, and it should be contextual, and it should be algorithm-driven to help us eliminate bias, right? It's like, hey, here's the job and here's the person, and how do we match these together? And not in terms of selection, but in terms of prioritization of conversation. Hey, here's a group of people that we know are ranked higher based on all the data that we can find and put together that this person matches to this job way better than somebody else. And the problem we have is we have hundreds, if not thousands, of people applying. I just actually had a conversation with an HR leader today that said they actually posted a TA leader position, and within 24 hours had 1,600 applications. And the reality is 90% of those 1,600 applications had no ability, there should have never been even gotten through the system, right? But people apply and people are using AI, and someone's a recruiter and they think they now can be a VP of TA, blah blah blah. People are going to do that kind of thing. But she said, so I still have 160 applications that are legit. So now how do I kind of go through and I don't have the capacity to go through all 160. So then you have to go through again this filtering of, let's get to the prioritization of what we think. And is it 100% right? No. But if you go back a decade when we had no filtering and we just had a human going in and going, oh, okay, well, here's 5 names I can pronounce. I'm going to pull those 5. Do you think that was a better way? Like, no, that was fraught with bias as well. And so again, AI will help us become closer to bias free if it's used properly, it's measured properly, it's controlled properly, which again, the technology that I see every single day right now is being built in that way. And so I'm not fearful at all that, we'll get to a better outcome longer term from that standpoint. And so again, before we start, bashing on Workday and jumping into the crowd, believing that they did something bad not to hire old people, check yourself real quick. Check your knowledge about how algorithms work. Check your knowledge about the reality of what this person actually said they did and what happened. You yourself as a TA leader professional, you yourself as a TA vendor person that's in our space, go out to 100 different companies and apply to 100 different jobs and come back to me and tell me 100% what technology they were using on the back end. You won't be able to. There might be 5 people in the world that I know that can actually do that, that would actually have to really dig in to the backside of like websites and stuff like that to figure out some of these. And so a normal person that just is just aware, yeah, if it goes to some specific URL that you can look in the URL and figure out, oh, okay, this is a Workday or this is Oracle, whatever. But so many of these now are not that way, right? They're not even showing up in the URL. So you'd have to really dig into the code to figure out, where this is coming from. There's no way this one individual who was older basically applied to 100 Workday jobs, but not Workday, 100 companies that were using Workday, and then decided, I didn't get any of these jobs. The sad truth of this that I've yet to see one person talk about this Workday Mobley lawsuit, is that in every circumstance, every single instance, it was a human that went in and dispositioned this man because they thought he was too old. That's the actual truth. 100% of the time that happened when this happened. There was nobody that goes, oh, our technology told us not to select these people, and so we dispositioned them. That never happened. It probably ranked people, and it might have said, hey, this person's ranked number 40 out of 100, and you just focused on the first 10 or 15, and then you dispositioned the rest. But again, a human did that, not technology. Anyways, it frustrates me that we tend to want to beat up on people in technology and companies that are trying to make us better at scale, which is really, really hard and difficult to do. And again, it's not perfect, right? AI isn't perfect. The first iterations of AI weren't perfect. Machine learning is a little cleaner and better. And that's what most of this stuff was built on 3 to 4 years ago. The new LLM generative AI stuff came out of the gates a little squirrely because of the training. And again, it's exponentially getting better every single minute. A great example, like we always talked about, like large language models hallucinating, making things up. Literally 12 months ago, in this Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, all of these, I could say, show me a picture of the King of England, and it wouldn't show me the picture of the actual King of England. That's somebody we know. We know the King of England. It's a real person. You could actually easily find a million pictures online of the King of England that are verified. Instead, it would give me made up pictures of a woman or an Indian man or a younger man or whatever. And then give me maybe one of those pictures would look like the actual King of England, but it wouldn't actually give me that. The other thing I would say is like, maybe I'm doing marketing for my website. And I'm like, oh, give me a picture of a happy Black male at their desk. And it would be bing. It would say, oh, here you go. And it would show me some smiling dude, Black guy working on his computer at a desk. I'm like, cool, I can put that on my website. And I'm like, okay, give me a picture of a happy white female working at her desk. And the thing would come back and go, oh, I'm sorry, we can't actually, it's racist for us to, give you a picture based on color of skin and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? You just gave me a Black person. You won't give me a white person? Like, what's going on? All of those instances came out. And this is, again, like a year ago. And it hit national news and people made fun of it and blah, blah, blah. I just did those same queries yesterday because I'm getting ready to do an AI presentation. And all of that stuff is fixed. If I do right now, if I say, hey, give me a picture of a happy Black person, it will give me that. If I say, give me a picture of a happy white person, it will give me that. Funny enough, if you turn that around and I say, give me a picture of an angry white woman, it actually immediately gave me a picture of a Karen type figure. Okay, give me a picture of an angry Black man. It wouldn't give me the picture, and it scolded me saying that this is, derogatory and you're perpetuating, myths and blah, blah, blah. And so again, there's still some of that stuff there where you're like going, maybe I'm trying to build some marketing thing, or I'm trying to like do it like whatever right now. So it's funny how we'll do one way versus not the other. It tends to be still a little touchy around anything regarding something that could be considered problematic in terms of delivering back things. But I think little by little, they're getting a lot cleaner, and they're explaining. They might still deliver you something, but it's not going to necessarily, it might deliver you a picture of something that you're asking for, but it would give an explanation around like why this, isn't right, or whatever that might be, from that standpoint. So again, generative is a little bit more problematic than machine learning, which was again what HiredScore was basically using 4 years ago, 3 years ago, when this lawsuit or the plaintiff said this stuff kind of happened, from that standpoint. All right, that's what I got. That's what I got this week. There's some other things I'm going to come back. I did next episode. I'm bringing in a friend of mine again to talk about some of the fallout after the Coldplay CEO CHRO hug thing, because there's so much has happened since then. When it first happened, everybody was talking about it because it was just it was everywhere. And then what I like is the HR side of this and how it all kind of comes together and ends, right? Um, in where this kind of processes through. So I brought somebody else on, that's a communications expert to talk this through, because there were some things that have happened since that we'll talk about in the next episode that are just, it should be a master's level course in comms, for organizational comms and HR comms, that I think is doing really well. So hope you're having a good summer. Keep wearing the sunscreen, and we'll get back to you next time on HR Famous.